Stream, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We're going through a little bit of a technical problem, but I hope that we got it fixed for today. Today we're talking about past progressive and past perfect progressive, and we're also covering past perfect tense to make sure we have a good foundation for today's lesson. So thanks very much for joining us. I hope that everybody can see and hear the video okay. So I want to get back into today's topic. I want to continue discussing what we were looking at before. So we talked about, in part one of today's lesson, we talked about past perfect tense. We did a big recap of past perfect tense and when we use this grammar point. So to get us back into today's lesson topic, let's quickly refresh our minds on how we use this grammar, and then we'll go right into part two. Okay, so we talked about past perfect and when we use this grammar point. We use past perfect to express a sequence of actions. Yeah, so when we want to express that an action in the past happened before another past action, we can use past perfect to do that. Okay, so for example, if we want to say something that happened before another action, we can do that with by the time or with when, as we saw with some example sentences earlier. Yeah. So very, very quickly, I just wanted to review this grammar point because I think we had a little bit of a technical issue during the live, but I hope that it's all fixed now. Okay. So this was part one for today, past perfect tense, but let's go and take a look at part two as well. So in part two, we're talking about past perfect progressive and past progressive, okay? So I was starting to get into what we use past progressive and what we use past perfect progressive to do. So let's review here because I think this is where we got into a little bit of a technical problem, okay? So let's take a look at when we use these two things, okay? So I want to start by reviewing the past progressive grammar point here, okay? So we use past progressive grammar in this way. We have subject plus was plus the ing verb form. Yeah. So for example, I was working or he was studying. Yeah. Very, very simple. So these show an action that was continuing. Yeah. So we just want to express that that thing continued in some way, right? So this is just something that we use to just talk about the action. We don't have to say like a past action, another past action. We can use it alone if we want to, okay? So let's compare this grammar point then to past perfect progressive grammar, okay? So the grammar pattern is a little different. We have our subject plus had been plus ing verb, yeah? Subject had been, ing verb, yeah? For example, they had been studying, or we had been sleeping, yeah? So we use these to talk about past actions, yes, but key point with past perfect progressive is we use this to show a past action that was continuing before another past action, okay? So that means that there were two actions and the older action was continuing, and then something changed it. So we use this grammar point with interrupted actions or with changed actions, okay? So there's something that stops it or something that happens to the action that changes it in some way, okay? So I want to look at some examples now of this grammar point, okay? So we use this a lot with by the time or with when, okay? That's quite big, let me fix that box. So we use this a lot with expressions like by the time or when this thing happened, just like we looked at in part one, okay? So let's take a look at this first example, okay? We had been sleeping for 10 hours when the phone rang. We've been sleeping for 10 hours when the phone rang. So what does this mean? Let's break down the grammar of this sentence. So here we have we had been sleeping, right? This is our past perfect progressive grammar point. We had been sleeping shows that this was a continuing action in the past, right? In this case, we have for 10 hours. So 10 hours continuous, okay? So that action was continuing. Then that action stopped or was interrupted. So we have when the phone rang, right? So we have the change point. When the phone rang. This is past tense, simple past tense, the phone. The phone rang. So this means the action was interrupted. We had been sleeping for 10 hours when the phone rang. This expresses continuing past action and another past tense action that stopped us. Okay? So let's take a look at the second example here then. So the second example, we had been working on the project for 3 weeks when our manager asked us to change everything. Okay, longer sentence, so let's break this down. We had been working. Here is our past perfect progressive. We had been working on the project for 3 weeks. So right here, this tells us the continuing past action, the thing that was continuing. In this case, for 3 weeks. Okay, so this part is our past progressive part, past perfect progressive part. Yeah. Then here's our hint word, when, right? When our manager asked us to change everything. Okay, so our manager asked us. Here is our simple past tense point. When our manager asked us to change everything. So this is the interrupting action here. So continuing action, working on the project, the manager asked us to change everything. So this is when we use past perfect progressive. We want to talk about something that was going on, that was continuing, and then describe the point where it stopped. Okay? Good. So some examples are in the chat. Hi again, everybody. Jonathan writes, they had been studying before I got home from my parents. Okay, that works. Yeah, they'd been studying before I got home from my parents. Natalie wrote, they had been cleaning up the room when I came in. Okay, that works too. Yeah, they'd been cleaning up the room when I came in. Nice ones. Okay, so this is how we use past perfect progressive. Okay, all right, good. Okay, I'm a little bit late, but today's a little bit different than usual, yeah? But this is how we use past perfect progressive and quickly past progressive. So I want to finish today's lesson by I want to give you just maybe a quick guide of how to choose which one, okay? So very, very quickly, in case you missed it or in case there was a technical problem, our team has an amazing Black Friday sale that you can find at EnglishClass101.com. You can get 51% off, oh my gosh, and you can find all of the details from the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube and above the video if you're watching on Facebook. If you want to get all of the details about the Black Friday deal, you can go and find it right here. So check the link, make sure you don't miss out this week. Okay, good. Let's finish up today with a very quick, very short guide that you can use to, I hope, help you choose between these grammar points. Yeah. So which one to use? There are 3 that I've talked about here. How do I know which one I should use, right? So let's take a look at this. So decide, we need to think about the relationships to the other actions. So let's begin with past progressive. When should we use past progressive grammar points? Here we go. When you want to explain an action continuing in the past, but there's no other was doing something or someone else was doing something. So here are 2 very simple examples, okay? So at 10 a.m., I was working, or last night, I was eating dinner with my family, yeah? So we are not talking about the relationship between this action or condition and this action or condition. It's just a simple continuing past action, yeah? So no connection, just past progressive, yeah? No relationship to the others, right? So let's compare this to, let's see, the next one is past perfect. So when should we use past perfect then, okay? Past perfect, we use this when we want to show a sequence of actions, right? This action first, this action second, right? So rule for this is the most recent action is the simple past action. So most recent action, the thing that happened latest, yeah? And the oldest action gets past perfect. This is a guide you can use, okay? So here's an example. We looked at this in part 1. When I arrived home, I saw that someone had eaten my sandwich, okay? I used a similar example in part 1. But when I arrived home, I saw that someone had eaten my sandwich. So So this sentence describes one action, the recent action, arriving home and seeing something, and describes this thing that happened before that. Someone had, we use past perfect to show this sequence of events, okay? All right, and finally, when should we use, what's the guide for past perfect progressive then, okay? So we use past perfect progressive when we want to show a continuing past action that was stopped or interrupted by a different past action. This one is really tricky to use, but we use it for storytelling a lot, okay? So again, that to give a visual for that, it's a continuing action in the past that was stopped or changed in some way. So again, the most recent action, the change action, we use simple past with that one. And the continuing past action, this one, we use past perfect progressive for this, okay? So here's another example of a past perfect progressive sentence. So we had been working hard for 3 hours when the fire alarm, 3 grammar points that I know can be very confusing to understand, like when to use and how to use. But I hope that today you got some ideas about how to use them a little bit more clearly, okay? Sorry for a bit of technical issues today. Thanks to everybody who's sticking around. That's super, super awesome. So I have to finish there because time got a little bit away from us today with a little bit of issues, but I'm glad that we made it through. So thanks very much for joining me live as always. So I'll be back next week, of course, same time, same channel. So please join me again next week. I have next week's lesson information right here. Next week, I'll be back Wednesday, November 29th at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is New York City time. If you don't know your local time, please Google it. Or you can set a notification on YouTube or on Facebook, or just use your brain. A little bit better. If you have watched me for any length of time, you probably can guess. We're going to talk a bit about this week. So thank you so much for joining me as always. And don't forget, if you want to get the Teams Black Friday deal, now is an amazing time to do that. You can get 51% off. It's a super, super good deal. So find all of the details at EnglishClass101.com. Just check the link below or above the video. All right, so enjoy your week, enjoy your weekend, have a great day wherever you are, and thanks so much for joining me again this week. So see you next time. Until then, be well. Bye.